What will Tom Brady's legacy be?
Tom Brady's legacy will be untouchable. That's right. He's untouchable, and everything he's accomplished, untouchable. I know somebody already ready to tweet. Never say never. Well, I'm saying never, damn it. Nobody else is going to ever play the game of football and win 7 Super Bowl championships like Tom Brady and do it the way that Tom Brady did it. Neither one will come to life, will come to fruition. Here's one reason. It's just too damn crowded at the top now if you talk about greatness. If you look at what's happening at the quarterback position and focus in on it, boy, those elite camps and those 7-on-7 passing camps done had gremlins. And they are everywhere, whether it's Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl right now, or Josh Allen sitting there breathing down Joe Burrow's neck saying, hey, I'm next. And then you can see Lamar Jackson trying to get his, Justin Herbert trying to just get into the building. All of these guys are going to compete at a high level together. And Patrick Mahomes is sitting there like, I'm sitting on the throne looking at you guys trying to supplant me. I don't think anybody else at this position will ever be able to accomplish what Tom Brady's been able to accomplish. Now, that said, how did Tom Brady go about doing it? It wasn't with all the fanfare. A 6th-round draft choice. I had a lot of friends who were drafted in the later rounds, and they all say after about the 5th round, I'd rather be a free agent. Because if you get drafted in the 6th or 7th round, guess what? They're forcing you somewhere, and good luck to you. But if you're a free agent, I get to pick where I could go, and I have the best chances of succeeding if I get the pick. Money a little different, but the opportunities seem greater for those free agents. I'm not going to argue with them. But that's where Tom Brady started. 6th pick 199, 6th round, and all of a sudden, we just saw his immediate ascension to the ranks of being one of the greats. Now, how did it happen? It didn't happen his first year. He was married to that clipboard because I was out there playing against Drew Bledsoe. Let me remind y'all who Drew Bledsoe is. The first player in NFL history to get $100 million. If you're Tom Brady drafted to that situation, you and that clipboard think you're best friends. You don't think you're ever going to see the field, let alone in your first year as a starter, 2nd year in the league. Thank you, Mo Lewis. All of a sudden, you're on the field, and next thing you know, you're a Super Bowl champion. 2 ways you get confidence in this world. One way, we all understand. I did something, and look what happened. I feel confident because of what I just accomplished. But sometimes the outer world, sometimes the outer accomplishments, sometimes the universe just lands on you and says, you know what? Y'all did this, and you are special for doing it. And I think Tom Brady in that first year, he wasn't the league MVP, he wasn't the greatest quarterback, but because the world just opened up for Tom Brady and that team to win a championship, the GOAT was born. I hate to tell y'all, but his legacy, untouchable, and I'm saying never.
I like it. I like it. Not only is Tom Brady the GOAT, greatest of all time, he's the greatest teammate of all time. Oh. When I think of Tom Brady, we kind of alluded to this, Joy. You kind of started it off talking about his relatability, and it was all about relationships. That's what made Tom Brady such a great and tremendous leader. His ability to buy into what it was that he was presented. Think about when you go fishing. No one can fish from their couch. You have to go to where fish are and put yourself in that environment to pull out something to your environment. That was Tom Brady. He was able to acquire guys and get guys to jump on board because he was willing to meet them where they were. Ooh. He was willing to literally befriend them and become what they needed, not just as a player. We all knew how great of a player he was. He drew people because of how great of a player he was, but he became adored because of how great of a teammate he was. When we think about great players and how they give their pressers, I look at LeBron sometimes, and it was annoying. And people say, why did Kyrie leave? Because we always heard, yeah, my guys, and yeah, I got to tell my guys. And Tom Brady has never spoke to, and this is no knock on LeBron, Tom Brady has never spoke about his guys as his guys because he always put himself in position as one of the guys. And that's what his legacy is. I'm just like you. I'm one of you guys. I'm not going to allow you to see me as the greatest to ever do it. I am one of those guys that are trying to achieve the same thing you're trying to achieve every single year. So for me, as an ultimate competitor, as an appreciator of the sport, Tom Brady was the greatest. He will go down as the greatest teammate of all time because in every situation we saw him in, with every level of personnel around him, he had this ability to allow them to be drawn in, to believe, and to play as though they were better than what they had been or what they were going to be. Anywhere else we saw them. Ask Antonio Brown that, ask Wes Welker, ask Randy Moss. You ask anybody that's been a teammate of Tom Brady, and they have not a negative thing to say about him. And that speaks to his ability to be relatable, as we mentioned earlier, Joy.
Yeah, and I mean, when you have 7 Super Bowls in the ultimate team sport, you probably got to be a great teammate, right?
That part.
So I agree. I think of 3 things when I think of Brady's legacy. The first thing that I think of is leadership. And for a long time, we argued, was it Belichick? Was it Brady? Who's more responsible for that dynasty? Well, he kind of closed the book on that when he went to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, who won the Super Bowl in 2002, but for 17 seasons didn't win a playoff game and only saw the postseason twice. He comes in a pandemic, wins a Super Bowl. So his ability to bring a winning culture, to lead a team, to show up every day with the work ethic and the dedication that he had, as accomplished as he was, what he did in Tampa Bay, to me, closed the book on who was responsible, who was most responsible. Not responsible. Obviously, there was a lot of pieces that have fallen in place to make a dynasty work for 20 years, but the most responsible was Tom Brady. Because if he's the leader, if you're showing up every day, and you guys know this, when the big dog at whatever company you work for or whatever team you play for shows up every day and is doing the most work, you got to do more work too. You can't show up with Tom Brady in your locker room as the quarterback and do it halfway. That's not going to work. Everyone's going to look at you side-eye, and you're probably not going to be there very long. So his leadership, to me, is unquestioned and is such a massive part of his legacy. His health, 22 seasons is remarkable. For him to be second in the MVP odds this year in his 22nd season will not be matched. I don't believe that we'll see that again. I think he is the ultimate outlier in that. Obviously, you talked about your TB12 basket, Marcellus. TB12, whatever he has done to his body, the dedication, the money, the hours that he's put into his body that we don't see. Because greatness isn't really what you see on Instagram. It's not necessarily what you see on the field. It's all the work that you put in behind the scenes where nobody's watching. It's the preparation. It's the hours of rehab. It's the hours of training. It's showing up an hour early so you can get a full stretch in and your full routine before you ever hit the field. That's the stuff that we don't see, that not only he did, he loved doing. And as he mentioned in his Instagram post, he wasn't willing to do that anymore. All of those things are required for greatness. So his health, to me, has to be a part of his legacy, just of how available he has been. And then the adaptability, to me, is something that we probably won't talk about very much. But when you play as long as Tom Brady played, when Kyle Pitts is 21 years old, the youngest player in the NFL, he doesn't know a world without Tom Brady as an NFL player. That is remarkable. The world was so different when Tom Brady started in this league. The league was different. The rule changes that he's seen, the different teammates, the different locker rooms, 2 different organizations, different coaches, turnover every single year. For him to win at the level that he won with all the different constant changing of circumstances is really remarkable. Because when we think about different teams, we do all these projections. Oh, how well is this team going to do next year? We often don't really examine all the little changes. Did they lose a coordinator? Did they lose this key piece on the defense? Teams are different every single year. So for Tom Brady, over 22 seasons, to have this level of winning, you have to be adaptable. The amount of pay cuts that he took to make sure that he could have the players around him that he knew he needed in order to have a winning year, in order to stay at the level of competition that he wanted to be at as the ultimate competitor. His legacy, I agree with you, Marcellus, it's untouched, but there's so many factors in what made him as great as he is. And I think over the next couple weeks, we will just begin to peel back the layers of how this all happened.
Oh, let me give you guys some props on some of the astute, tremendous statements made. Greg, when you said he met his teammates where they were, man, that's great parenting 101. You learn that, like just meet people where they are. And that's great therapy right there. Joy talking about how the culture, it's not about mantras and what's on the weight room walls and dedication, discipline, desire. It's what's rewarded. And if the top dog is out there rewarding you for hard work, Tom Brady is giving you props for hard work and demonstrating it through his own efforts. That's the culture, and that's what Joy was talking about. It's crazy. Tom Brady literally, you talk about adaptability. Tom Brady's drafted when his teammates now were little babies. And now his teammates are playing little baby. And he like, dog, I don't know what the hell y'all talking about. Like to go 20 years, 22 years exactly, in spectrum. Like the world has changed 10 times while Tom Brady's still being the quarterback of a team. Insane. For me, man, I already know no one else is going to do this. So let's just talk about what did he do. It's like the understated made it. Like Tom Brady representing the hood and all those undeserving people out there that say undeserved and all the people out there who don't have an opportunity. Like Tom Brady came from nothing to me in terms of 6th round choice to GOAT status. Like, look at that. That's like insane how Tom Brady represents so much for those who may not see a better outcome. Think about it. His hard work crosses all barriers, young, old, color, whatever you want to say. Tom Brady putting in the work made everybody buy in, no matter who you were, correct? That's right. And then Tom Brady's like in a situation where he's just demonstrating to everybody like, yo, if you just buy in, if you just do it this way, it can work out for you. To the tune of, listen to these fun facts. I love going to the bar, grabbing a double, and spitting out some fun facts. Tom Brady has more Super Bowl titles than any other NFL franchise. Good Lord. Told y'all it's untouchable. He went to the Super Bowl 45% of the time he was an active player. And he won 32% of the time. Y'all hear me out there, party people? Like Tom Brady has done something we have not seen before. And trust me, I'm not going to see it again.
Yeah, you're so right, Marcellus. And I think the beauty of how he did it, right, is what stands out for me. And I talk about the relatability and the relationships. And Joy, you talk about his leadership skills and his adaptability. And all that boils down to being able to self-assess and self-reflect day in and day out. Can you imagine having all those accolades that you just mentioned, Marcellus, and then humbling yourself enough, dumbing down all of that every single day to meet someone who has never done that, to kind of downplay it and say, no, this is what it takes, to literally pour into every teammate that in Tampa Bay, a culture, a team, an organization that hadn't been to the playoffs in years, and bring a championship level culture and environment and provide that. That's investment. That is time spent. That is beyond the field. It goes so far beyond that. And so when I think about Tom Brady, everything that I think about him, what stands out most is his ability to connect, man. Like every player in this league, Marcellus, you said it, you were drafted before him, he outlasted you, and I was drafted after him, he outlasted me. But we all have something in common. He is one of those players, one of those unique talents that we all, man, I wish I had an opportunity to play with him. I listen to how receivers talk about their relationship with him. And it's like, man, I wish I had that. That is because it meant something to him. Even where he was, his level of status, his power, his rank, greatest of all time, he never carried himself higher than the lowest man on that roster. And this one story stands out to me. I think it was this past year. A high school kid or something calls one of the Bucs defensive backs, dials the wrong number, and he gets him on the phone, and he goes through the locker room, and he hands the phone to other players in that locker room, Gronkowski and other guys. And who else does he hand the phone to? Tom Brady, talking to a grade school, high school, teenage kid He is that type of an individual where he's not too high and mighty to just pick up the phone and say, "What's up, man?" That is what makes him so beautiful. I love him. And man, it's all about the TB12 persona and his ability to really, like you said, Joy, adapt and lead because of his ability to learn how to follow.
Yeah, and my favorite part of his story is what we keep mentioning, is the 6th round pick. Because I'm a solution kind of person. I don't really like to complain about the same thing over and over. What's the solution? What are we going to do here? How are we going to fix this? And Brady was always a solution person. Yeah. He was never a victim of anything. 6th round pick, cool. I'm going to be the greatest player ever. And I love that that's part of his story. I love that he wasn't the number 1 overall pick. He didn't go to a situation that was grooved for him. He wasn't even considered the guy right away, because those type of things stick with you. And I really like to study the people that are at the top of whatever their professions are. Muhammad Ali, Beyonce, Michael Jordan, Kobe, so many greats. And what do they do? What do they all have in common? Tom Brady, LeBron, what do they all have in common? They have an obsession with greatness. And whatever it takes to become great, I'm willing to sacrifice of myself to become that. And all the things behind the scenes that they do. And because Tom Brady was a 6th round pick, he's such a shining example of what you pour into what you do will come back to you, because he did it. No one thought the Patriots didn't think he was going to be this. They took him in the 6th round.
Yeah.
So it's so much more than a chip on your shoulder. It's something that's ingrained in who you are when you have the ability to be as great as Tom Brady is. And that 6th round pick is such an important part of the story, because we all saw the combine picture. We all saw the 40-yard dash, and no one believed it. But if you believe it, you can actually do it. And there's so many cliches that apply to his career. But that, to me, the beginning of it is what sticks out the most, is that he really did overcome something that most people would never believe would even be possible. You couldn't take this movie to Hollywood and they would buy it. And we sell some crazy stuff out here. But no one would believe that. And he accomplished it. So I think that for all the perspectives that we can have on it, the fact that he started that way, I think, is so important.
Man, you said that, and especially with streaming now, it's really going to be some crazy stuff out there, because the demand for content is at all-time high. You want perspective? You want some perspective, Joy? Let me give you some perspective. I was drafted 3 years before Tom Brady, played with Tom Brady, and he played 15 more years after I retired. I played 10 years, y'all, for all y'all giggling at me. I played 10. This dude lasted 15 more after me. Insane in the membrane. You know what's crazy? Because Joy brought it up. Tom Brady, when he was drafted to the New England Patriots, their owner, Bob Kraft, Columbia alum, said that Tom Brady told him, "I'm the best pick that you've ever made and will be the best pick you ever will make." A 6th rounder? Greg knows this dynamic. Joy, you know what I'm talking about. Imagine a 6th rounder going up to the owner talking about, "I'm going to be the best pick you ever made." The owner like, that was cute. If you make the team, let alone become the GOAT. But that's who Tom Brady is, because Tom Brady never lost sight of the light at the end of the tunnel. This is what I'm going to leave with. Damn it. Because it really hits home. That's why I say Tom Brady represents the hood, the underserved out there. And it crosses all barriers, because when you're struggling or you're suffering and you're going through whatever you're going through, sometimes you lose sight of the end of the tunnel where that light is, right? And there's 2 things that bring me back home growing up. 2 things of why you lose sight of that light at the end of the tunnel. 1, you may just have your eyes closed, like you're going through some dark times and you just don't have your eyes fully open and focused on the right things. But 2 is something that literally happened to me growing up. There was this tunnel underneath my boulevard, Slauson. You had to go from elementary school to cross Slauson. You had to go under the tunnel. And I used to notice this dynamic. When you're going down the stairs into the tunnel, the light's behind me. Then you're walking and you get to the middle of the tunnel and then you turn around. I can't see the light behind me, and I'm looking in front of me. I used to couldn't see the light in front of me because I was in the middle of that storm, in the middle of that tunnel. But then Tom Brady is just something different, bruh. Tom Brady just is an example of, I will never lose sight of that light at the end of the tunnel. And his work ethic, and all those that he inspired around him is a testament to that same mindset. Damn, Tom Brady, you're going to have me up here crying, bro. I love you, bro.